Welcome to the road to ARKAST. I'm your host, Ty King from the Arkansas Podcast Collaborative, and this is the third year. Can you believe it? We're bringing back ARKAST, the Arkansas Podcast Festival. This year, we're going to have a kickoff on September 14th in Little Rock, Arkansas. We're bringing the full festival in full force to Fayetteville, Arkansas this year. That's amazing, right? We're bringing back the podcast as a, how would you say, a preliminary sort of event driver. How would you, I guess that's what you say it. Promotional. Some sane people might say promotional. This might be a promotional podcast that leads up to the main event, right? So what we're doing here is, if you're not familiar, we are interviewing other podcasters to learn about their podcasts. And so you'll hear the word podcast several times, but you'll also learn some very important things like, how did they make it to be successful? What were some of the things that they had to overcome to find that success? We'll also be talking to some very interesting personalities from across the country, across the world. And one of those being the interview that we have today, where I had the chance to sit down with a gentleman named Ranger, who is walking literally on foot across the country from coast to coast, and happened to be passing through the grand old state of Arkansas. And we got him in the studio. We got to ask him some questions about what that's like, and it was an amazing little interview. And so, without ado, we will get right into it. And here is our interview with Ranger. So I'm sitting here with Ranger Kielak, who has taken it upon himself to go on a mission cross country to walk on foot.
On foot. Yeah.
You're using feet.
With my feet, yes.
With feet.
Just these two.
Just yours.
Yeah.
Nobody else's.
Well, just mine. Yeah.
Okay.
For the most part.
Nobody's carried you so far?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've made it about, do you consider this to be halfway in Arkansas?
No, not yet.
No?
I think midway is going to more so be Oklahoma City.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then it's all the hot states. So Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California.
Wow.
Now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when I was looking at the map, I was like, oh, man, these states were kind of small in comparison.
Yeah, right?
Dang it.
Yeah, for sure.
Hitting the state lines is always like such like a, I don't know, it's like a video game, right? Like, oh, yes. I got the side mission. Like, yes. Great, I did it. I'm progressing. And these ones are just going to drag on and on and on, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. Well, yeah, tell me about it. Like, what got you started? What made you want to walk across the country? I know you're doing this for a purpose.
Yeah. So I have like, you know, the mission, the purpose, like I'm raising money for a few nonprofits, but what really got me started, what gave me the initial idea, in 2018, there's an artist named Mike Posner. Mm-hmm. You know, he's saying I took a pill and it's cool. Yeah. He did a walk and he started in Ashbury Park, New Jersey and walked to California, I think Venice Beach. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, I was a fan of him already. I'm like, oh, how cool, how exciting, how neat. I wish I could do something like that. And then, you know, it's like the immediate differences, right? It's like him and I are both just dudes. Like we're both just guys, right? But he has money. He has resources. He has a following. I don't know, multimillionaire, platinum art, whatever, you know, like he can do these things. I can't. So it was just kind of like a thing that got put in the back burner in my mind while I finished up college and graduated. I graduated from college in December of 2019. So, you know, right before the world shut down, which is fun.
Yes.
Great for the psyche.
Right.
And then near the end of the year, 2021, 2022 time, there's two other guys, Mark Dudek and Ranger Kielak. They did the walk. They did it separately, but Mark had a podcast and Andrew started the walk, I think near the end of Mark's. So when Mark found out about Andrew, Mark had Andrew on his podcast. There we go. I said that right. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
No.
So they were on a podcast together when I was listening to it, and I was like, oh, shoot, these guys are just normal dudes. Right. They both had just graduated from college and were also inspired by Mike Posner's journey. And you know, I had like an actual job. And,
yeah.
I was saving money. I was trying to be as frugal as possible. And I'm like, oh my God, they were able to get past these reasons and excuses that they're making for themselves, and they were able to do it. And then I went back to Mike Posner's podcast and his interviews before he started, and he had the same thing I did, where it was like, I think he had the idea for the walk like 4 or 5 years before he did it. And it was always, I'll do it next year. There's this birthday or wedding or anniversary for these people I don't really like anyway. But I have to go because I have to. And, you know, but what happened for him was his father passed away the year before he did the walk.
Okay.
So for him, it was like a reminder that, you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
And here I am making up all these reasons and excuses to not do what I want to do. And now one of the people I love most won't even get to see me do it. And my grandfather passed away in 2018 from Alzheimer's. And I was like, oh, shoot, I'm already losing people. I'm already in that boat. I can see that happening for myself now, too. Is this something I really want to do? Or can I like consciously, intentionally say, I don't want to do it, but I want to do this?
Right.
So that kind of prompted it. And then, you know, I started getting some coaching on it, focusing on it a lot more. And then August of 2022, I texted my now fiance and I was like, hey, babe, I want to do the walk, because I've been telling her about it for years. And she was like, awesome. What's step one?
Yeah.
I said, I'm pretty sure texting you is step one.
Because now I'm committed. Now that I've told you.
It out loud.
Yes. All right.
And then I started telling friends, like after a year, I started telling friends and family. And then, you know, told my bosses at work, posted on social media. And it's like, oh, shoot, now I have to do it.
Jeez. Yeah. So there are coaches to teach you or like to prepare you, I guess, for a walk across America. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So they were. So I went through a professional coach training program in California, in Sacramento also. But the coaches that went through that program before me and were in it, like it was like the learn by doing mantra while in it. They weren't necessarily like, oh, walk across America coaches. It's all a lot of mindset, neurolinguistic programming.
Okay.
Because a lot of it for me was, is this something I really want to do?
Yeah.
And the way that we're taught coaching isn't necessarily, it's more than just is this something I want to do? I don't know.
Right.
Is it? Like with friends, right?
And of course.
It's a lot more of like, okay, well, what does the walk mean to you? Why is that important? You know, getting really deep. And when I have 4 or 5 weeks of hour-long conversations with someone about something so specific, you get really clear on it.
Sure.
So that's more so what I needed was, question 1, do I want to do this?
Yeah.
2, why? 3, what do I want to do about it? You know, so that took up a lot of our sessions.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Awesome. So how did you get started? I know because you live in California. Yeah. And we were talking about this before that we were on mic. You live in California, but you went to the opposite end of the United States to get started there so that you could walk back home. Yeah.
So it was my fiance. She works in Half Moon Bay, which is right on the coast near San Francisco. And she only lives like 10, 15 minutes away from the coast. So I could pretty much see the water as we were driving to the San Francisco airport.
Yeah.
And we basically started, I didn't get a chance to go to the Pacific Ocean and like, I don't know, be cute about it. We were kind of on a time crunch because it happened like last minute that we're like frazzled. But yeah, we jumped on a plane in San Francisco. So basically right on the coast.
Wow.
Flew all the way to Charleston, South Carolina. Stayed there for a few days. I don't know. Hung out, saw the sights and scenes. Then we went to Myrtle Beach, had our mental breakdowns and our realizations that this was really happening and that I would be gone for 5 or 6 months. And I was certain it was like hitting me a lot more, you know, because like I felt like I had to be very much like 150%. Oh, I'm going to do it. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
All up until I was like at Gardens by the Sea where I started. I was like, oh my God, I'm actually doing this, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So, and I figured a lot of the other people that I've seen walk across went east to west.
Yes.
The advice was start early spring, walk east to west because, you know, the high humidity and heat. It's kind of like you're going to hit summer no matter what.
Yeah.
So do you want to hit that really wet heat or that dry heat?
Yeah.
And I guess the dry heat's a little bit easier to manage rather than... Okay.
Well, yeah, you definitely made it to Arkansas in the right time.
Yeah.
This is where it's like, it feels so good outside when you step outside.
Yeah.
A couple weeks, it's going to be so humid and muggy and like, it's going to be hard to walk around outside.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you made it perfect timing. Yeah.
Okay.
You made the right choice. Congratulations.
I listened to the people that did it before me.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I talked to Mark and Andrew, and then there's another guy, Kenny Mintz, that did it last year.
Yeah.
And he's an older Army Ranger veteran. So I'm not military or anything. I'm not the veteran, but
it's in your name.
It's the nickname I've had for like 12 years. Yeah. So it's great for branding.
Sure.
But yeah, so yeah, go east to west, start basically mid-February, end of March. And I started a little bit into March. So yeah, that's just a route that people kind of recommended. There's not like a specific, it's not like, oh, day 1, start here.
Yeah.
Day 5, you will be here.
Yeah.
There is the American Discovery Trail up north, but from my understanding, that one doesn't have the greatest roads at times. And I have a cart, I have a backpack, so that'd be kind of hard to do. That's, from my understanding, that one's more so a hop on, hop off whenever you want, and do sections of it rather than go all the way across.
Wow.
And the route I'm doing is pick Myrtle Beach as the start point for Google Maps, put Pismo Beach in the end point on Google Maps, and then just kind of go on that way.
Interesting. Yeah, I was looking at your map on your website, and it seems like it kind of crosses you. So you didn't intentionally bend it to where you do hit all the states on the way, because it kind of seems like that. Like even when you get to like the Nevada, Arizona, sort of New Mexico region, like it kind of looks like it dips just so that you can enter just the corner, just to say that you've been to that state.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Well, that's just like when you plug it in, that's what it does.
Okay.
I guess that just has to do with like the actual roads that are in the area.
Okay.
Because I don't think there's very many through Arizona, New Mexico,
Right.
to Nevada.
Right.
But yeah, I'd like to keep the Nevada one because I have some people that are donating based on the state.
Yeah.
So based on states that I hit. So,
Okay.
Gotta hit the 10.
Gotta hit all the big donors. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, when you started this out, I know you were anticipating that it was obviously going to be a journey, you know what I mean, going across. It's so strange that to me that Mike Posner is the one that inspired me to this. Yeah. Like back when that song came out, Ibiza, you know what I mean? Like I never would have thought that he would have inspired people to do something so meaningful. Yeah. That's incredible in itself.
Well, he used to make very like F-boy kind of music.
Yes,
like,
I know. Yes.
Cooler than me.
Right. Exactly right.
Very much like drinking, partying, whatever.
Yes.
And then, I took a pill on Ibiza was very much like a switch for him. Because I think that was around the time his father passed away. And so when that happened, he very much, I don't know, flip-flops in what he is now and what he's doing. And he just gave a TED Talk and he had a podcast and everything. And
it's so interesting.
He's very like spiritual goo. He gives a lot of spiritual goo.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny like that. Not funny, haha, funny, interesting. But how that works out.
Not the Jared Leto type of spiritual.
Yeah.
Okay, got you. No, so it's so incredible just to have somebody like a snapshot of a human being, you know, just because when they were famous for this certain thing, which is those types of songs you were talking about, and then that they can go on their own self journey and become and like evolve into something else that's meaningful and adding positivity to the world. It's incredible. Yeah. So I want to know about your journey itself. Like when you're walking across, have you been to all of these states that you're about to cross?
No.
You haven't?
No, I have family that live in Oklahoma, and I'm going to pass through their towns, I think in a week and a half, 2 weeks. So I've been in that area. I've been to a little bit of Oklahoma City when I flew in to go see them. I've been to a couple places in Texas, but that was like, we flew in, went to a wedding, went back to the airport.
Sure.
And then same thing with Arizona and New Mexico. My dad and I went on a road trip to go to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But again, it's like you drive through the state, you don't really pay attention.
Right.
Especially when I was like small. So
yeah.
Like I've been there, but
yeah,
I don't know if that counts.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So a lot of these you're experiencing for the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure whenever you heard of like you're going through certain states, so like you probably had maybe an avatar of somebody that lives in those states or like what are those states, you know, the society is like. Have you been surprised whenever you're passing through the states? Has it changed sort of your mentality or like how you see certain states or people in them?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. I think also like the whole like coaching mantra, like that, that whole year-long program, like also made me be more open and curious and present with what's going on. But I think the initial idea that I had, you know, a lot of people in the South, it's Southern hospitality, but also like that like hint of racism, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Which I'm not, like I'm also a white guy walking through these areas, right? So it's like, I don't know if I'm experiencing that or if I don't see it or if I'm just not paying attention to it, you know? But I mean, just the whole idea of that Southern hospitality and people being willing and open to help out, like has also just been insanely cool. And I mean, even the times that people have told me no, it's not even like a no, get out of here. It's a no, but let me ask this guy, you know?
Yeah.
Like, hey, can I crash here? No, but my neighbor down the street might let you, you know?
Yeah.
So
that's good. Well, like pointing you in the right direction.
Your reason. Like, what was it? There was one guy on socials, him and I were talking for a little bit, and I was like, oh, hey, I'll be there in this time. Can I crash at your place? He's like, typically, yes, but I'm going to be out of town. My wife and kids are going to be there. I don't feel super comfy with that. Like, I'm sorry. And he was like apologizing to me. I'm like, no, dude, like, you don't have to give me a reason.
Right. Yeah.
I appreciate it. Like, I know now, but I'm not going to hold it against you.
Yeah, for sure.
So I thought that was interesting.
Well, that's good. So you haven't hit any spots where you're like, this was a bad choice.
No, I mean, there's definitely spots you hit where you're like, I don't want to stay here very long.
Yeah.
But again, I just kind of keep my head down. And, when I have my backpack and my cart on, like, especially if I have the tarp over it, nobody wants to talk to me really.
Right.
Because they just
assume like you're a homeless man?
Like a homeless transient guy that's just kind of like passing through. Like,
right.
Just like, I don't know what everybody else has. Nobody knows what I have.
Right.
So it's like, but typically when I go through like the cities after I've been like on the news or posting it somewhere or et cetera, people are more willing to approach.
Yeah.
But even then, there's been times when I'm like just on the side of the highway and someone slows down just enough to like hand me a bottle of water or a few bucks. And I'm like, you don't know what I'm doing. Like, you can't even see the sign.
Right.
You just assume that you're like, again, like a homeless guy.
Right.
Out. So it's always like, okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
I appreciate
I won't try to give you my spiel or anything. Here, I appreciate
you. In the card and they're like, oh, no, you're good. I'm like, oh, no, I'm not trying to. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Selling your wares on the side of the street.
Like, it's just a business card.
Just a business card. I'll show you. Oh, that's awesome. So I guess, has it changed your point of view on anything so far? Have you been surprised by anything that you've seen?
How willing people are to tell me things.
Okay.
I had that conversation with my fiance a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Julie. I was telling her, I was like, like I've had people pull over on the side of the highway a few times. It's been all guys so far. And just telling me about like an abusive relationship or alcoholism, or it's crazy what people will just start telling me.
Okay.
It's because I think it's the coach thing.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, like, I'm a life coach and I'm walking.
Well, let me tell you about my life.
Yeah. It's crazy what they're just like willing to tell you. Like even like it happened like a week ago. The guy was like almost like in tears. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't know if I'm qualified for this conversation,
Yeah.
But thankfully there's an organization I'm raising money for bigger than the trail. Yes. What they do is they are a bunch of trail runners, 5Ks, 10Ks, ultra marathoners.
Sure.
And they raise money to provide free therapy services to people that are struggling. And they sent me a bunch of business cards. So now I have that. And thankfully they sent that to me before this started happening.
Yeah.
So now I just passed them the business card. I'm like, hey man, I don't do that type of coaching. I'm not like a trauma coach. I'm not or a therapist or I'm not qualified for that. But these guys are. Please reach out to them and they can get you the actual help you need. So
absolutely.
If I can help them start that conversation and like let them have that space to feel comfortable to start it, I hope that they'll follow through and get the help that they actually need.
Got you. Yeah.
I think that's the thing I was most surprised on is just within minutes. It was just like
spill out all their life details to you.
And I'm like, I'm dehydrated on the side of the road. Like, I appreciate it.
Like, this is great. I need a drink before we go.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, I was not expecting this. But like, yeah, let's talk. Like, let me be with you for a second,
Absolutely.
So I think that's the thing that's like at top of mind right now is the surprise.
It's very interesting. You're a big guy, and you said you had a personal trainer. How do you keep your size while you're walking across the country like this?
Yeah, so I lost. So I'm working with a nutrition coach, Mari Fernandez, and she's from Modesto, where I lived the last 2 years. And she made me this whole diet plan that's eat this in the morning, eat this in the midday, eat these for snacks, and I use that as my baseline.
Okay.
But the first couple of weeks, I was so focused on surviving, I guess, that's all I ate. So I kind of screwed myself on that one because that was only like 2,000 or 3,000 calories in that meal plan.
Okay.
But I missed the fine print, which was very clearly highlighted in the email she sent me, to eat this plus more,
right?
Like to maintain calories. Like that's like the bare minimum. Like here are your vitamins, here are your whatever to keep you going. So I think after like just 2 or 3 weeks, I was down almost 15 pounds.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a skeleton by the time I don't eat.
You're right.
So I eat all of that as like my baseline for the most part.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you eat a lot of garbage. Like,
Of course.
I got into like those like honey bun, like things you get at the
Those prepackaged ones. Yeah.
But they're like 500-600 calories. And my Nike app, when I've had it record my steps, it was like, oh, you burned 3,500 calories today, plus your normal maintenance of like 2,000 or 3,000.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm burning a ton of calories, like, because you don't, like, when you're walking, I'm not like sweating and dying, you know, like I am when I'm running. Like I can't feel it as much. But by the end of the day, I'm like, okay, I am starving.
Yeah.
I need to remember, because I'm so focused on getting where I'm going that I forget to eat, or I forget to stop and take a break. And so like every minute I'm not walking, it's taking me longer to get where I'm going. So I have to like remind myself and force myself to eat LFs.
Yeah, I'm sure you're taking a lot of steps too. I was going to ask you about that if you were recording that.
Yeah, and so in my cart I have a little drip carrier, and I put my phone and my charger in there when it's charging.
Okay,
and it doesn't count the steps when it's in there.
Yeah,
and if I keep it in my pocket, it gets sweaty and then just
of course, yeah,
right. So I the steps I have counted, I think I'm at like 1.3 million.
Okay.
But it's not super accurate because one of my buddies from back home, he's like an engineer, but he likes making Excel sheets.
Yeah.
And he made me this whole Excel. He's like, track everything, track all the numbers. Like, he's like got graphs and data points and all this. And I'm like, I don't know what any of this means. I'm like, okay. I'm like, just tell me when you think I'm going to stop so I can tell people.
Right.
But because there's some days that are like, I don't know, 30 miles, 10 steps, 20 miles, 40 steps. Just because I didn't have it in my pocket. So it's like kind of all jumbled and over the place. So I think what I have to do is kind of go in there and keep it in my pocket all day, use that as the average. But recorded, it's over 1.3 million, I think. And then actual is probably closer to 2.
Wow.
Yeah. So
you just crushed my spirit up there just listening to this. Yeah. Like, I got 200 steps in, 2,000 steps in.
Well, it's funny. You're like, my phone, like, what? It's kind of mean. The first like few weeks were like, you're way further ahead than you are at this point in the day usually.
Yeah.
It's like,
you think? Yeah.
Okay, I forgot how stagnant I was. The good old days.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Well, you're doing this for a purpose, and I know like you're getting some self-development on the way, of course, and you're learning about yourself, and like there's survival techniques, there's all these different things you're learning and meeting people, and it's great exposure. And so the exposure, you know, being for the purpose of why you're doing this walk in the first place is to help raise money for several different organizations. So tell me, I know there's the one you just told me about.
Yeah. So the overall mission for the walk, again, this had to go back to knowing me, like, I did 2 half marathons the 2 years before.
Okay.
Not necessarily to train for the walk, but just because I wanted to do it.
Yes.
And I realized I had the idea in my head, like, I can back out and nobody has to know that I was going to do this.
Right.
So what I did was I posted like a month before my first one and said, hey, what is it? Like, do the like $1 per mile.
Sure.
And then I ended up raising like $1,500 for the reptile rescue I was the president for at the time. So I was like, okay, now I have to do it.
Yeah.
So I kind of took that and I translated it into this. So the overall mission for the walk is to highlight, learn from, and work with people in the U.S. that are making a difference in their community.
Nice.
And I'm doing that through like my own podcast, through my social media,
of course,
to highlight people. Just make that the forefront, like the people behind the walk, essentially.
Sure.
And the nonprofits I'm raising money for, I picked all of them because they've either, touched me in some way. I've worked with them, been a part of them. And it kind of aligns with the overall mission of my coaching practice, which is to help folks develop a life worth remembering, or help them build a life worth remembering. And the first one is the National Future Farmers of America. I was in FFA when I was in high school. I worked with them through college on a few different project grant award committees and judging events and this and that. And the money that I raise for them are going to go towards their supervised agricultural experience grants. So in FFA, every kid has a project, their lamb, their goats. Some kids do, they grow plants and they sell them, or they work for a farmer. Right. So what those grants do is it's $1,000 grants that funds the project. So, this will get you your first sheep and the feed for it. This will get you equipment to mow lawns and charge for it.
Okay.
So really just that base level, get kids started so that if they don't have access to their families, because there's a lot of families that are in it that have an established farm and they're just like, yeah, here's a goat, here's a whatever.
Yeah.
But then there's families like me where I didn't really have any of that getting into it. So that would help other kids be able to do what they need.
That's great. Okay.
The next one is Bigger Than the Trail.
Okay.
And I learned about Bigger Than the Trail from an organization called the Wander Projects. And the fundraiser that I'm doing, all the funds go to Wander Projects, and then they're going to disperse it out to the 3 nonprofits.
Yeah.
And what they do is they have the runners that do the half marathons, ultra marathons, whatever. They help them raise funds, they collect the funds, and then they disperse them out. I'm worried about tax implications and people Venmoing me up to $100,000.
Wow.
So I'm like, I don't want to do all that.
Right.
So they're taking it and then they're going to disperse it out. But Wander Project and Bigger Than the Trail are like partners, and they work together a lot. And I really align with the mission of Bigger Than the Trail because when I was at my heaviest and my heaviest and lowest mentally, running is kind of what got me out of it.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, that makes sense. They're aligned there. I've had that similar experience, and I love what they're doing with, no questions asked. If you need the help, like you just have to fill out this form.
Right.
So that we can give the therapist the info that you need to contact you.
That's great.
And then the last one is the Hospice Promise Foundation. And what they do is they come in for families that are having, like end of life treatment, and they help with non-medical related expenses. So, rent, utilities, groceries, transportation, final wishes, helping decorate at the holidays, just really everything that they can do to help families focus on their family member rather than having to run to Walmart or, do basic repairs on that shore house. And the reason I'm working with them, it's specifically the Tulsa chapter, is because they're the ones that came in to help my Nana and Papa when he was in like the final days or months of Alzheimer's. So I picked all 3 of those because it kind of coincides with that idea. So building a life worth remembering, adolescence, developing the skills you need to make a difference and build yourself up, mental health support for, 18 to 60, whatever that age range is, like midlife, and then end of life care. So beginning, middle, and end.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's commendable. Absolutely. To have such a passion for raising money for these nonprofits that, they've touched you in some way. Yeah, but I mean, you're going way out of your way to try to help and to bring attention to them. Yeah. Way out of your way. You're across country.
Yeah.
And back again. Yeah. That's awesome. So this area of, we love nonprofits, of course, and we ourselves are a nonprofit for, ARKAST Podcast Collaborative. But this area, particularly in Arkansas, supposedly has the most nonprofits per capita in the country. Yeah, that's so wild. Yeah, that's right. So great. It's kind of we understand about the nonprofits and the need for that, and for providing services to people who need it when they need it, because you don't really realize it until you're there, like you were talking about with the. People in mental health. You don't know you need mental health services until you're in that position and you're like, how do I get out of this? And like, is there a solution? Is there what's available out there? And so awareness for things like this is absolutely, needed for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I can work with them and highlight them and let them provide it.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's been going great so far, raising funds for them.
It's been going not as, I don't know. I wish it was more. Of course, I wish it was more, right? We always want more and more.
Of course,
more. But I think I'm finally starting to get more traction on social media, learning how it works and how I can make content that.
Sure.
I'm learning what people like.
That's good.
So, again, I wish I knew this sooner, but that's part of the game, right?
Yeah.
You learn it as you learn it.
Have you set a goal for yourself? Like, what's a dollar value that you want to reach before you get to the other side? Okay.
Yeah. So the goal is 100,000.
Okay.
So that it would be 33,000, whatever, to each.
Okay, great.
And then I have it broken down about how many grants that would be, how many hours of therapy, and how many families.
Awesome.
Support. So.
Okay. Do you have like a meter or something somewhere, like on your website, where people can see where you're coming?
Yeah. So the Facebook fundraiser, the first one just ended because it can only go for 3 months.
Yeah.
So I just had to start a new one. So I had to figure out how I can get the new meter to like represent what lost essentially. But on the first one, we hit 4,000. for 4,300 or 4,400, I think.
Okay.
So just shy of 4,500 basically. So now it's maybe 6,000 left and 2/3 of the way left to go. So
Hey, yeah, not bad. You're not halfway yet.
not halfway yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And your media attention and everything has ramped up,
Has started to ramp up a lot.
Right.
As I'm
Exactly.
getting further along.
So I think this last half of your walk across the country will definitely get you there.
Yeah.
It definitely should. Anyway, yeah. That's awesome. So I forgot to ask you, like you said, it only lasts 3 months. So have you been walking this for 3 months so far already, or over 3 months? When did you start?
I started March 10th.
Okay.
So I think today is day 54 or day 53.
Okay.
So what, 2.5 or almost 1.5,
Sure.
2 months?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah. And I should be, I think, Oklahoma City right around the 3 month.
Great. And so
I'm taking time off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you are.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm going to stay with my Nana for a few weeks. For less than a week.
Okay.
5 or 6 days.
Yeah.
Then I'm taking a few days off in Fort Smith to get my feet.
A break. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm sure as you've discovered some different parts of your foot you never felt before by walking so much.
I felt things that I didn't know were a thing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Definitely a push.
So why Fort Smith? Why crash there?
It's on the border, and they have a Marriott property.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
But no, my fiance works for Marriott, so we get a decent discount. So I'm like, okay, I can afford to stay here for a few days and relax.
Yes.
Yeah. And since it's like right on the border, it just made sense because they're only, I think, 120 something miles away.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's about a 3 hour or something drive, I think, from here. So yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know how it is walking because I've never done that.
and it should be the 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it shouldn't take them that long.
That's great.
Walking wise. Anything else wise, it takes forever.
Right. Awesome. So after this whole journey, I know you're not even halfway through it yet, but do you think like yourself and your career and what you're offering for other people, which is the coaching, right?
Yeah.
Do you think this is going to change how you coach people, or like some things that you're going to teach them?
I think so. I think it gives
Yeah.
more of a backing because I am fairly young. I haven't built a multi-million-dollar business.
Sure.
I haven't done like a lot of, I haven't raised $1 million. You know what I mean? But I think that in terms of the coaching aspect, it gives me a lot more of that, I'm going to the word credibility, I guess credibility of going from idea to finish line.
Yeah.
Right, because I feel like a lot of people kind of just go, okay, there's only the finish line.
Yes.
Like, there's only the thing that I'm going for. But it's like, okay, well, what's the idea you have?
Right.
What's the actual starting line? What's the actual finish line? And then is that it?
Yes.
Like I also don't like the idea of, I peaked, right? Like I'm not climbing this mountain just to get to the top. And that's it. I'm climbing the mountain to get to the top to see what's next, to see what else is out there.
Right.
While still enjoying that moment of being at the peak, what's next?
Yeah.
Like, what else am I going to do?
Right.
So I think that that's going to be a big thing to me to see how can I overcome that? And then, again, translate that into the business and how I can help other people with theirs.
That's incredible. Yeah, you're growing yourself while you're helping other people grow.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
So, you've got your own podcast.
Yeah.
Yes. What is it called?
The Within Range Coaching Podcast.
The Within Range Coaching Podcast. Yes.
I just took my business name and put podcast on the
Just put podcast.
I tried looking at all the different names.
It works though. You know, some
like we
people
were
do
saying
that.
earlier, it's like, you get into that paralysis of like, it needs to be perfect, needs to be this. I was like, I'm losing my marbles over it. Just throw a podcast on it.
Yeah. And sometimes it's good branding overall because like if it's tied into your business, your coaching business, which obviously has its name that you're trying to build up the brand, it doesn't really make sense to try to build up two different names for different brands. Then nobody makes the association.
Well, then I did it right.
You did it right. Dude, yeah, you're on the right track. Plus, so like what you're doing now, of course, it's going to bring you more attention and hopefully. And so where can people find you online? What is your website? What is your website?
Yeah. So my website's withinrangecoaching.com. If you go to the website, you'll be able to see Rangers Walk Across America, where you'll have all the other intro, the nonprofits I'm working with, the partners and sponsors I have right now. I have a few paragraphs of a blurb of, why the hell I'm doing it.
Yeah.
That meant the story behind it.
Right.
And just like, the blog, the this, the that.
Right.
Facebook, I'm the most active on about the walk so far right now.
Yes.
Just because of the length of text I can write in Facebook. You can write a book in Facebook. Instagram, you can barely write anything.
Right. Yes.
So my Facebook page is Within Range Coaching. Instagram within range _ coaching. Same thing for TikTok. And then LinkedIn, it's Andrew Ranger Kielak.
Nice. Awesome.
And yeah, everything kind of has its own personality.
Yes.
Like TikTok's kind of just, I'm walking up a mountain and I don't want to think right now, so I'm going to answer questions. Whereas Facebook is an actual narrative of posts. And
so is Facebook the best way to keep up with where you're at currently?
yeah, I'd say Facebook's the best.
Okay.
Facebook and Instagram stories.
Okay.
I post the stories pretty consistently throughout the day, just like the little things that happen here and there. So that's kind of like the minute by minute. And then
awesome.
Facebook would be the, where is he actually at, generally speaking right now.
Okay, great. And if anybody wanted to reach out, let's say media-wise, as you're crossing through these states ahead of you, they hear this and they're like, hey, we want him to interview. So how do they get in contact with you that way?
Yeah, so DM on all the social media accounts.
And
then, DM would probably be best. And then my email is ranger@withinrangecoaching.com.
Okay, awesome. Perfect. Ranger, you're doing an awesome thing.
Thank you.
I saw your post and like it blew up on one of the groups I host. I was like on Facebook.
That was the most... That's the best a post of mine has done. And
really,
I was like, oh,
it's got like 200,000 impressions, and like it was incredible to me because I feel like that's the biggest post that's ever been in that group before. Period.
Yeah,
so
it's like
it blew up.
I mean, I just look at the reactions and the shares. I was like, what, 300 reactions, 1,500 shares.
Yeah.
I started going through the share because I usually say, oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're not going through here all this. Yeah.
I can't do this.
That's fantastic.
I don't have 3 hours to come through these.
All right. Great. Well, that's good marketing, good exposure. So works for you. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you for doing what you're doing and making us aware of these organizations and for being a champion for these nonprofits to help other people. I mean, you're obviously doing this selflessly. You were impacted by these organizations and these types of things, and you know what it's like to be in those positions. And now you're doing this to raise awareness for them, to help other people. I mean, that's what we call a good human being, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I try to be. Awesome. Well, thanks you, Ranger, for coming in and recording with us today.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. And I look forward to watching your journey as you get across.
Yeah, thank you. I also enjoyed it.
No problem at all.
Thank you again to Ranger for stopping by the studio and talking to us. I imagine that anytime at all away from your walk, when you're walking from across the country from coast to coast, I'm sure every second counts, every minute. And so it's nice to have those little rest periods, but he took his rest period in order to talk to us and to raise awareness for these amazing nonprofit organizations that had an impact on his life. And it's just an incredible story altogether. And we thank you for listening to this podcast. Thank you. We hope that you will come join us at the ARKAST Podcast Festival. Here are the dates for that. So September 14th, we have a full day, a kickoff day, some would call it, at the Delta Hotels in Little Rock, Arkansas. Imagine a full day of workshops and speakers and breakout sessions and workshops and some hands-on training and some meetups and some free swag and people there that will help you get your podcast off the ground, but also help you elevate what you're already doing. How about that? We will also be talking about how to get grant funding for your podcast, which is always exciting. September 16th, we'll be taking over the Ron Robinson Theater in Little Rock, where we will have a live Halloween podcast special episode recording in front of a live audience. It's going to be so much fun with horror directors and tarot readers and some amazing spooky stuff. If you love the spooky stuff, then you're going to love this. It's my thing, and I think I'm really, really excited about it. In fact, I am. I'll declare that right now. I'm excited. November 14th through the 16th is the main event of ARKAST, starting with November 14th at the Fayetteville Public Library Events Center, where we will have the very first, even though this is the third year of the ARKAST, this is the first year of the ARKAST Awards, which is open to anybody from Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, I don't know why I said like Kansas, Texas, I think I said that, Louisiana, so anywhere around in the flyover states, in the South, those states that typically get ignored, but we're creating great content, we want to recognize you, so please please nominate some of your favorite podcasters and podcasts. You can do that at arkansaspodcasters.org. And so November 15th through the 16th, it's 2 full days of amazing workshops and hands-on experiences and some amazing speakers that we're bringing in from LA and New York and across the country, Oregon. And then we end it all with a podcast pitch contest at the end of the night on November 16th to bookend it. And it is an amazing prize that people are up to grab. Part of that prize, this amazing just collection of things to help you really get your idea going. One of those things is a lifetime free hosting with Disctopia, the podcast hosting company, which is that's a outstanding prize. And we'll get more details about that in soon. Please stay tuned to arkansaspodcasters.org for more details. Follow us on all the socials. Please give us a great rating on all the podcast platforms. Give us a thumbs up where it applies. And let us know what you would like to see at this year's ARKAST and who would you like to see on the pod itself. Okay, so until next time, please keep your ears and eyes tuned to arkansaspodcasters.org. And we will see you next episode.